Hello everyone, my name is Bhavik and the book I read was The Big Short by Michael Lewis. This book focuses on four co-occurring stories of subprime short sellers. All of them were the first on board to figure out the greatest trade ever and were protagonists of the story. The thesis of the book is that there are specific problems in our capitalistic structure which were the reason behind the collapse of the world economy. The main problems were the use of incentive system in the economy, the immense competition which led to unethical practices, and irresponsible actions of the government agencies like the SEC. In this video, I will try to explain the top three concepts of capitalism which I think were responsible for the demise of the economy and will link them to the examples in the book and some personal examples which I came up with. So, the concepts are: first, shareholder wealth maximization; second, private ownership of businesses; and third, no government intervention in the market. In The Big Short, Michael Lewis examines the bond market and the shift into subprime mortgage bonds. So, in layman language, the subprime mortgage bonds are the bonds which are filled with garbage mortgage loans in which the customers are most likely to default. So the crash took place over an extended period starting in mid 2007. It happened because the housing market plumped nationwide as a large number of people defaulted on their mortgages. In 2008, it all came crashing down and was the most massive financial disaster. It collapsed the whole world economy and nobody saw it coming. The reason anyone else didn't see it coming simply because they were not looking and had immense faith in our banking system. The world economy was affected because of the weak capitalistic structure. As capitalism promotes the concept of shareholder wealth maximization, the incentives in a capitalistic structure are not aligned with the best interests of the society, whereas they are aligned with the best interests of the shareholders. In early 2007, banks were writing 5 times more loans than they were writing 5 years back, and more than 90% of these loans were adjustable because incentives were more on them. All the bankers sacrificed their long-term growth to gain short-term returns. The collapse of 2008 is one of the best examples which depicts the failure of capitalism. Capitalism is structured in such a way that a job well done gets rewarded with huge bonuses and incentives. Salespeople and representatives at the bank were selling mortgages to people with bad credit as they wanted to complete their targeted sales and make money. Moreover, the banking system was indirectly promoting this practice as incentives were more than double on adjustable subprime mortgages compared to non-adjustable mortgages. For example, a job of a sales consultant is to work with the customer and provide the solution to a customer which is in their best interest. Ironically, these sales consultants are being paid and incentivized to sell the maximum number of products and services their company has to offer. So, how can we expect sales consultants to work in the customer's best interest where they are getting paid to sell more to that customers? Like, I personally work as a sales consultant for Bell Mobility and I am supposed to provide the ideal solution for a customer. But how am I supposed to provide an ideal solution in customer's best interest when Bell is paying me to sell more services to the very same customer, which they might not even need or ever use? The second reason behind the demise of the economy was the concept of private ownership of businesses. Private ownership of businesses gives rise to competition in the market, and everyone in the same market tries to perform better than the other. In an attempt to win the largest market share, banks and other companies often go on unethical paths. In the economic shakedown of 2008, banks hired CDO managers to represent the investors. But banks were immediate supervisors of these CDO managers They provided them the bonds to sell, gave them the clients, paid their salaries, provided them with incentives. But ironically, these managers were supposed to represent the investors. Privatization of industries will only be effective if managers of private companies have incentives aligned to act in the best interests of the public. This will improve efficiency and will prevent wastage of resources. Another problem with private ownership of businesses is that private sector managers are not reluctant in adopting wealth maximization strategies or practices that can make vital services unaffordable to a large part of the population. For example, a wealth maximization business will not provide healthcare to the general public or educate the poor or disabled children. Efforts making these activities profitable would need to reintroduce government intervention. In USA, health is not free and it is tough for middle or poor class to have high quality treatment and government has failed to address this issue. On the other hand, India is one of the fastest growing economies. Still, the literacy rate in some parts of India is less than 60% and the literacy rate of girl child is even below 30% in some states. This is because there is no proper public schooling system in the country. There are a lot of private schools which the lower middle class or the poor class cannot afford. Now, the third concept of capitalism which can be related to this book is the minimum government intervention. Minimum government intervention creates more room for fraudulent and unethical activities as there is no supervising authority. Like in 2008, rating agencies are one of the main reasons behind the collapse. Like loans underlying the bonds were going bad, whereas bond ratings were going up miraculously. Since the 2008 financial crisis, rating agencies are criticized for not uncovering all the risks that could affect a security's creditworthiness, mainly referencing to the mortgage-backed securities that were given high credit rating but were high risk investments. It was found that the issuers were paying the agencies for providing the bond ratings. And one of the more reason why these bond ratings were giving the companies the good rating, because if they do not give them the good rating, they will simply go to some other rating agency and get the rating they want. Therefore, government intervention is extremely important to prevent such situations. This proves that there are many problems with the current capitalistic structure. In conclusion, the concepts of capitalism discussed in this video have their own merits and demerits, and a modification is necessary for these concepts for their proper functioning. Shareholder wealth maximization is still necessary for the economy, as this is what promotes innovation of new products and services. Combining this concept with corporate social responsibility eradicates the problem of companies not caring for the public. Privatization of businesses and use of incentives also has its pros and cons. Incentives are still required for some employees to work harder and efficiently. Incentives just need to be aligned with both shareholder and stakeholder benefits. Thank you.